What's going on, everybody? My name is Dylan. I'm a guitar player here on YouTube, and today I just wanted to hang out and go over my favorites from the 2026 NAMM show. Before we go any further, if you could please like, comment, and subscribe, I really do appreciate it. Anything and everything helps. Today I just wanted to hang out with you, go over some of my favorites from the 2026 NAMM show. I know that it's a little bit different nowadays, and we don't get everything that's going to come out in 2026 during NAMM anymore. But I think it would be cool to discuss some of the stuff that was released. And yeah, we can talk about it down in the comments. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into some of my favorites from NAMM. Alright, the first thing I have up on the screen grab here, I think it's no secret what one of the biggest things of 2026 is, and that is the Quad Cortex Mini. When I first saw this, I was stoked about it until I saw the price. And for it being a lot smaller and a lot less foot switches, I thought that the $1,400 price point was a little too close to the $1,800 price point of the full Quad Cortex. I was kind of expecting it to be around $1,000, maybe $1,100, $1,200. That is until I looked more into it and realized that it is a full Quad Cortex, pretty much just without the buttons on the bottom. The screen is the same size. One use case that I think is going to be beneficial for me personally is I at some point wanted to get a second Quad Cortex to have constantly like on the desk and set up ready to record versus my entire pedal board build that we'll get to someday here. And I thought actually this would be perfect for the desktop because it has the same processing power as the Quad Cortex. If it's on the desk, I'm gonna be using Cortex Control 99% of the time, so I don't really even need the foot switches. So it's smaller, has the same processing power. I don't need the foot switches, and I get to save a couple $100. So it made more sense for me after thinking about it like that and realizing it is a full Quad Cortex. But what do you think? Is this something that, I don't think it was needed, but it's super cool that we got it. I was almost expecting, from a prediction of Xander Raymond Charles, I was almost expecting a rack mount, which I think would also make sense because there's so many of the, I think, more established bands that are using Quad Cortexes. They have them in the rack and it's being changed by MIDI. Not all bands, but most of them I think are doing MIDI switches, and you always see the Quad Cortex in the rack. So a rack mount Quad Cortex makes a lot of sense. But this is cool. What are you guys' thoughts on the Quad Cortex? I love Neural DSP products, so I'm excited to get this one day. Not necessarily anytime soon, but one day. The next one that I wanted to go through, and I think has some of the greatest guitars of 2026, is the ESP and LTD lineup. I think every year the ESP and LTD lineup is pretty sick. I have looked over this already, and I do have a few favorites. And starting off, one of my favorites is this new 400 series. It's kind of bringing back even when I first started playing guitar only about 6 years ago now. The LTD 1000 series were right around $1,000. They didn't have stainless steel frets. They came with EMGs. They weren't as spec'd out, and that's what this 400 series is kind of going back to. On this one, we have EMGs 8160, 8185, non-stainless steel frets. We still got a roasted maple neck, mahogany body, locking tuners, string through bridge. But yeah, this kind of goes back to that, again, even just 5-6 years ago when I first started playing guitar, kind of goes back and a little bit under that price point, $899. I think that's great for this guitar. LTD makes some of the best import products in my opinion. This again, kind of now that the 1000 series are like really spec'd out and up into like the more $1,500 price points, I think this is a great bridging that gap between their more premium spec'd imports and their super budget friendly imports. This again fills that gap. Another one I was super stoked to see was the MH200. I think this top is just absolutely beautiful. This one's a little more stripped back. Just LTD pickups, no locking tuners, regular maple neck, and we have a rosewood. Still a rosewood fingerboard. This is a 200 series, so we are stripping back the specs even more. You're not getting, EMGs, you're getting LTD pickups, no locking tuners. But I think the top is just beautiful in this, and I am actually very interested in getting this and checking it out on the channel. So with the 1000 series, I love this finish. With 1000, yeah, you're getting the neck through bodies, Fishman pickups, stainless steel frets, ebony fingerboard, locking tuners, Tone Pro bridge, Fishman Fluence moderns, yep. So yeah, I just think this the finish. These came out in an E2 version, I think in 2022, maybe late 2021. And the fact that they brought it to the LTD, I think is super sick. So let's kind of just scroll through here again. More 1000 series. Yeah, they're in that $1,600, $1,700, $1,500 price point. This Firebird kind of vibe Phoenix is super cool. This was kind of a shock. We all saw Joe Duplantier with his LTD, his chrome LTD at the Olympics in France. But at least for me, maybe it was just me not paying attention, but I feel like the talk about it kind of died off. Again, that could just be my own naiveness, or if that's even a word. So when this came out as a signature model for 2026, I was kind of surprised. But I think it is super sick. Very Joe Duplantier with the Tone Pros bridge. I believe that is his signature pickup in the bridge. Yeah, his DiMarzio Fortitude, block inlays. I love the whole vibe of this. The silver burst, the blacked out hardware, the roasted maple neck. Very sleek, very nice. This would also be very cool to check out. Moving along here, another 400 series with EMGs and a Floyd. That's cool. Again, the 400 series EMGs, quilt top, the EC. Another cool one from this year is Stephen Carpenter's baritone in this nice magenta color. Stephen Carpenter from Deftones. An E2. Again, with that granite sparkle, this is super sick. I would love to get my hands on an E2 one day. I've played one or two, like at Guitar Center or some used ones. But these things are immaculate. So we'll just keep moving along here. Another E2, the Horizon. I really like the MH and the Horizons with that kind of more carved top kind of vibe. This would also be a sick one to have. The MH, the MH again is like the carved top, kind of super strat kind of vibe. This one would come with like the EMGs, hardtail, super sick. Mick Thompson's signature in just satin black. This is the normal for Mick Thompson, I would say, is the black. Cool to see it in a satin black though. His previous guitars were always gloss finishes, so it's cool to see that in a satin black. I used to own his white Jackson. I miss that guitar so much. But I would like to try his LTD, especially because we're using a non-Floyd hardtail thing that he was doing on his Jackson, just kind of like the high mass hip shot bridge, which is super sick. So I would like to try out one of these one day. Big fan of Slipknot. It's my favorite band, as you can see kind of down there a little bit, bottom of that poster. Oh, aha, there it is. The Jack Simmons baritone. Again, referencing Xander Raymond Charles' video, kind of predicting that Jack would get a signature guitar from LTD, but this also came to my surprise. I'm not the hugest fan of Slaughter to Prevail, and that's nothing against them. That's just me not checking out their music enough. The few songs that I have listened to are great, and I love them. I just need to listen to them more. But every time I see Jack playing, he has that white kind of explorer-shaped LTD or ESP with the blood splatter. So I'm really surprised by not only is it just solid black, but it's a V. And you can tell me in the comments if he plays something like this before his signature came out at all. Even I have seen him with a V, but it was blood splattered in white. So again, just kind of surprised on the black. But 7-string baritone, we got 27-inch baritone, which is cool. I do wish it was a little bit longer. Locking tuners, Fishman, open core, modern. Okay, that sounds a little different. I'm not quite up to date with everything Fishman, so that could be a thing. I just couldn't know about it. But so yeah, that kind of wraps it up for the ESP LTD. And let me know what you guys think of any of those that you are interested in checking out or may want to see on the channel. I think another one that was, again, a little bit of a shock to me was the PRS SE Baritone from Ed Sheeran in this Cosmic Splash. One thing I was not expecting, though, is the baritone aspect of it. Again, I know that Ed Sheeran is not, is he down tuning in his songs? I have no idea. He must be. If anybody knows that, go ahead and leave a comment down below. But yeah, I was just shocked about the baritone aspect of it. I think everything else kind of matches that vibe, especially with the symbols of music and the divide and all that kind of stuff. And the inlays, I think that's super sick and definitely on brand. But again, just super shocked on the baritone part of it. So again, if he's down tuning or using maybe like C standard in some of his songs, go ahead and comment down below. But yeah, I think this was super cool. There he is. What a jolly looking guy. So we have a hollow body piezo baritone from PRS this year. That's super cool. Another one I wanted to go through real quick is Jackson guitars. There's one guitar that kind of stood out to me that I thought was super cool. Again, it's not how it used to be where all the guitar brands are releasing everything at NAMM at the beginning of the year. So there's not a lot here from Jackson, but again, there was just one guitar I wanted to check out, and that is this carved top soloist hardtail. I think this is super, super sick that we're getting a Pro Plus series. So we're gonna get locking tuners. Yes, locking tuners. This one's a hardtail made in Indonesia. Carved top soloist. We have a 5-way blade switch and then a volume tone. JB59 classic combo for kind of the shreddy stuff. And yeah, the only thing that could make this better, this is 95% perfect. The only thing that could make this better is a reverse headstock. I'm not the biggest fan of the Jackson headstocks when they're regular and the way they point down. It's just a little weird to me. But again, that's just my opinion. But I think if this had a reverse headstock, I'd be getting it immediately. I love Jackson guitars. Again, talking about my Mick Thompson soloist that I used to have, my Lee Malia Jackson kind of offset Surfcaster, truss rod adjustment down at the heel. I love the minimal kind of shark fin inlays that don't take up the whole fretboard, just the corners. Man, this thing is, again, 98% perfect. We just need to flip that headstock around. Ebony fingerboard, archtop Naoto body. I like mahogany bodies. Naoto is a form of that. 12 to 16 compound radius. Typical Jackson specs here. Maple walnut neck through. Yeah. So, and then if you are into Floyd's, they have it with a Floyd as well. Again, absolutely beautiful. But flip the headstock, man. Just flip the headstock. Green is my favorite color, but darker greens. I don't hate this, but I would choose the black one. Ooh, this kind of gray, spark, kind of metallic gray, almost chrome kind of vibe with chrome hardware. That's sick. Not the biggest fan on Floyd's though. Oh no, this red crystal. That is beautiful. Again, kind of metallic finish. White binding that goes all the way up the headstock and around the neck, not on the body though. A guitar brand I just wanted to go over really quickly is this new brand called Infinia Guitars. And from my understanding, these guys have teamed up with some of the people from Dingwall basses to make guitars. And I just kind of wanted to go over this really quick because I think that's super cool for them to try to kind of offer that to guitar players, because we all know that Dingwall basses are like these high-end, very nice basses, and I think that it's super cool that we get offered that in guitar form now. So these are going to be very expensive, kind of custom shop prices and level guitars, but if you were ever thinking about, you know, what if Dingwall made guitars, we now have it with Infinia. And here's where you're kind of getting that Dingwall look with the pick. Yeah, right there. I mean, that's a Dingwall guitar if I've ever seen one. So yeah, super cool. Just wanted to go over this real quick. It looks like you do kind of spec them out. If we go back to here, you click buy. Yeah, so you do kind of spec it out just a little bit. Pickups, knobs, tuners, body color. Get to change some things, but yeah, super cool Infinia guitars. So coming into the Ernie Ball and Sterling stuff this year, again, just a few that I wanted to kind of go over real quick, and that was just the John Petrucci Majesty New Colors. I think this Strawberry Moon and Purple Nebula 2 are gorgeous, as well as the Jason Richardson 8 strings, I think are pretty cool. Not my thing, not playing an 8 string, but I still think that they're sick. I love green. Again, green's my favorite color, and that kind of like darker green that we have here is really doing it for me. And then from Sterling, another one of the biggest things that I think was released this year is the Stingray Baritone. Getting another baritone on the market is super sick, especially from the Sterling guys. We have an $849 price point. I do wish that it came in more colors, but this blue isn't bad. We got a rosewood fretboard, roasted maple neck, 27.5-inch scale. Okay, so more than 27, which is cool. Yeah, super cool. Again, I wish it had a hardtail. A hardtail and more colors. That would be nice. But if this, is popular, maybe they will keep it around and do more with it, release a hardtail version and more colors. So yeah, I would love to see the development of that and how far that goes. Another one I was super stoked on this year is just the Jason Richardson 6. The fact that 6 strings are coming back, because they were only 7s for a little bit. And in this green, what we got? Kokiri Forest. But I did think that this guitar is super sick, and I am interested in picking it up. I love the Sterling stuff. I love my Rabia Saber. I play it every day. I think LTD, PRS SE, and Sterling by Music Man, I think, are the top 3 brands for their imports. I think they have nailed the quality and the specs and the pricing. It's awesome. All right, I think a big thing coming out of the Gibson and Epiphone camp in 2026 is Epiphone's new Futura series. I do believe this is kind of replacing the Prophecy series, but these are super sick. We got stainless steel frets, compound radius, I'm gonna guess 12 to 16. ProBucker Ignite pickups, from what I have heard, they are going to be kind of a medium hot output pickup. I'm assuming locking tuners as well. Looks like ebony fretboards, mahogany bodies, knowing Epiphone and Gibson. I think it is super sick that we are getting both an RD and a Firebird, 2 kind of more unique shapes from Gibson and Epiphone that we don't see as much. I once owned the Lee Malia Epiphone RD, and that was super cool. But yeah, I'm super excited to see these Futura series and more of a modern thing from Epiphone. I would be, interested in definitely trying out the RD. I think they look super sick. As well as this inspired by Gibson Explorer that has EMGs on it. We all know who that's referencing. Very, very Metallica, very James Hetfield. But yeah, I just thought that this Epiphone lineup is going to be pretty sick for 2026. Another sick thing for 2026 is we got the new Mortal Coil pickup from Seymour Duncan, and I think this is their take on a Fishman pickup. We have 3 different voices. We obviously have the active modern metal portion, the kind of passive tones sounding like it's modeled on like a JB, and then single coil tones. Again, very, very reminiscent of the Fishman Fluence modern pickups. I would be interested in maybe checking these out. Yeah, just a cool set of pickups from Seymour Duncan this year. Just kind of like some honorable mentions here. There's nothing on the website currently, but Chapman Guitars kind of seems like they went through like a revamping this year. So I'm interested in maybe seeing what they have to offer. Seems like they are using their own pickups now, stainless steel frets across almost all of the guitars, truss wheel adjustments down at the heel, just little updates on their whole range, which I think is super cool. I'm also interested in checking out the Danish Pete, the new Danish Pete's model, because it's a double humbucker telly, which I think is a little bit different for Pete, but I would like to see how that sounds. Another honorable mention is Hills guitars. I see them being used quite a bit on Anderton's channel. I thought you could maybe only get them through like a UK dealership, but I found out when looking this up that you can get them through America, and they're just kind of a budget-friendly headless range, as we see here. I believe their new products this year was a baritone and 8-string multi-scale, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But as you see here, you can kind of get a budget headless guitar if you're looking for something maybe just like a couch guitar or to travel with, and not wanting to fork out, the money for like a Strandberg. Look at Hills, because they have some, budget-friendly guitars around $400 or $500, $600. They do go up in spec. You can get, up in the $1,000 range with Fishman pickups and stuff. But if you're just wanting something basic for the couch, we got this satin black headless one here for $550. So it's maybe something to check out. Ibanez guitars. Not the biggest fan of Ibanez guitars. Nothing against them, just not my preference when it comes to specs. And just kind of, I think of them more as like the shreddier kind of virtuoso guitar players, the Tim Hensons, the Steve Vais and stuff. That could just be me kind of being a little stereotypical, but I still thought that the Alpha series was super cool. Definitely a little take from the Abasi series guitars, and maybe even his Kaizen from Ernie Ball Music Man. Another honorable mention would be the Fluff Overdrive from Warm Audio. I'm a big fan of Fluff's videos. I think this is a cool overdrive, and the different kind of modes it has, and the flexibility that it has. Not sure so much what I can do with it, because I don't own any kind of analog gear at the moment. I'm fully on the Quad Cortex, but I would love to change that hopefully sometime soon, maybe get an amp. But this is super cool. If you are into, getting overdrives and analog pedals, maybe check this out. I just thought it was cool because from my understanding, it's Warm Audio's first signature pedal. So yeah, and highly deserved by Ryan Bruce Fluff, as he has put in countless years of work in the YouTube industry. I think we all look up to him in some way, shape, or form. And then our last honorable mention is going to be the Friedman IR loader and the Wampler pedal head, which is in collaboration with Synergy. The Wampler pedal head is kind of, think of it almost as like a Seymour Duncan Power Stage to power maybe a preamp, a modeler, anything that you would need a power section to power a guitar cab. From my understanding, it has different modes. If you want it to have more of like a Marshall-y kind of power amp, a AC or like a Voxy kind of power amp, maybe like a Mesa Boogie kind of American kind of power amp, it changes that, and it has like this learning technology in it that kind of learns whatever you're using, I'd be a quad cortex or a preamp pedal or something like that, as well as the speaker cab, and kind of making it as tube-like as possible. And then you, with that, choose kind of, you know, if you're using a Bogner Uberschall in the quad cortex, I would then change it to like a Marshall kind of power amp, and that's going to give you more of that authentic feel. The Friedman IR load, from what I'm understanding, it's multiple things in one. It's like a power attenuator, it's an IR loader, it can be a power amp for modelers. It just kind of does it all. If you want more details on that, I would like do some research on those. I'm not 100% knowledgeable on them yet, but I am very interested in seeing how these things work, especially as a quad cortex user. I would love to maybe get something to power a cab to get that on-stage sound. So that's going to do it for today's video. Again, I just wanted to kind of quickly brief over some of the things that I thought were super cool from the 2026 NAMM show, and things that I'm interested in checking out. Is there anything on here that I missed that you are interested in? Then yeah, go ahead and leave a comment down below. What is your favorite thing from the 2026 NAMM show? What are you excited for this year? What are you wanting me to check out on the channel? Go ahead and comment down below what you would like to see here in 2026. And with that, yeah, if I could have you guys please, again, like, comment, and subscribe. It really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one.